Hello and welcome everybody to Midwest Whitetail After Hours, presented to you by Hoyt Archery. My name is Jason Science. Tonight is October the 21st, and I don't know about you guys, but it was quite the night. I am joined by Owen, Zach, Mike, Max, Grant, and Jared. How's it going tonight, guys?
Doing well.
Doing well.
Good.
Going well. So, who's got the best story of the night?
Sounds like maybe you do.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that tonight and when was it, Jared? 2 nights ago that I probably texted you crying.
Yeah, two.
Two nights ago that I've had probably two of the best sits of my life, without a doubt. Tonight was like November 5th.
Yep.
It was just, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I never saw an antlerless deer the whole night. There was bucks flying every direction. It was like a NASCAR race, and I was in turn 3. But I was in the really cheap seats.
So I did get a sneak peek photo, but were you hunting with Travis, or are you guys hunting separately?
No, we were hunting separately. So, I had the intel from I guess that would be Tuesday night. And so Chad and Travis are my partners. Actually, this is on Chad's land. So Chad owns a piece, and then we lease pretty much everything that we can around it. And Chad, just sort of lets us hunt his, and, he hunts, everything else that we lease. And because of the information that I got from Tuesday night, I knew that because of the wind that we had, Chad could sit in one blind, Travis could sit in another. They're both ground blinds. One's a redneck hay bale blind, which worked great. And it was a 50-50 shot. You guys all saw the picture of Trump Tower and one of the food plots. I think Jared showed it one time. And so I just knew that it was probably going to be a good night. And I had an encounter with him on Tuesday night where ultimately the camera cost me the deer. I didn't have a cameraman, and he came through at about 15 yards. And there was just nothing I could do. But I laid down some great film.
Oh boy.
You created a little history for Travis to kill him tonight.
Exactly. Yeah, I've got a really poor picture that Travis texted me that I can show you guys.
Did you see any shooters?
I did.
You did?
I did. I don't know if you can see that okay or not.
Oh, he's dead. I missed that part. Man. Yeah.
Yeah. He'll go I think probably in the 60s.
You called it too. You said someone there up where you're at is killing tonight when we were on the phone earlier.
I think anytime you have the luxury of having that Cuddy Link system just giving you information constantly, I'm shocked that I'd never had one before. I got one this year. Chad and Trav have always run Cuddy backs, and I bought one of those cellular units because Max and Grant were talking about it that one night. I'm like, oh, they must work pretty good. So I got one, and I've got cameras hooked, as many cameras as I could possibly hook to it. So my email's going off all night long. But when you're getting that much information, it's a little easier to dial down on what they're doing without having to go in, and then on top of that, just seeing it firsthand. I don't think there's any substitute for being out there and having an encounter.
So you saw some pretty good pre-rut activity tonight then?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was the craziest thing. Where I said in my interview, just in the tree. Of course, tonight I had a cameraman. I said in my interview once I got in the tree that I expect the deer to come from here, and they're going to come off of the sanctuary. Because we don't hunt it because we just can't get to it, and they'll come down here and blah 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 blah, and all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes after that interview, here came 2 bucks just screaming through from the opposite direction up the hill, and then another 2 came, and then another 1 came, And then another one came, and that one got my blood, pumping. And there was a few that kind of scattered through. And then my cameraman Dan said, "Hey, there's a good one coming way down below," which they don't generally come from there in the evening. They come from there in the morning because they're coming back from those destination feed fields. And I looked, I'm like, whoa, I don't recognize this deer. I don't recognize his frame whatsoever. I grabbed my bow, I clipped my release on, and it was go time. And he was coming right up the trail. It's an 18-yard shot. And maybe 10 minutes previous to that, a forkhorn had walked through 10 yards north of that. And he got to kind of where he could probably smell that. And then he decided to go check that out. I'm like, oh, no. So I grabbed my grunt call, and I didn't know how aggressive to get, but I, grunted a few times, and he turned and he started to come right back at me. And I'm like, "You're dead. You are so dead." And then he turned and walked perfectly up the hill away. So I'm sure it's a great video. I haven't looked at it yet, but he's again, another buck that in that part of the property, I think I said the last time we had a podcast, the DNA of these two properties, east and west, couldn't be any more different, but just bonus buck showed up.
Wow.
So everyone that was out on our lease tonight had a shooter within 50 yards.
That's awesome.
Wow. What a night.
Yeah, you could literally, it was probably one of the first times that I can remember that you could feel, I don't know if it was the barometer or whether it was the moisture just coming out of the air, like it all of a sudden got cold, and it got real cold and real dry because it rained here up until about 10 after 3, and the skies parted and it got sunny, and it was perfect.
How winds, were they gusty? Like where I was, it was still pretty gusty and blustery.
Yeah, maybe 15 to 20 at the very maximum, and that was just for a small period of time, and that did make it challenging, Mike, just because of the swirling, especially in this pinch where I'm at. It just, because of where the wind was out of, it's just going to swirl there automatically when you get that much wind. But yeah,
Mike, did your wind stay consistent?
Yeah, I felt like it did. I mean, I'm on the highest point of the property, and it was northwest, I think, trying to get northwest or so. But I mean, I checked it multiple times throughout the night because it's a little bit, the more north I get in it, the cherry tree is kind of sketchy. And I cut off more of that back corner of the food plot. Now, where I think, Chubb's going to come from, I'm like, that's probably okay. If I see him out in the alfalfa or the beans, I can call to him and it's still going the right way. But I'll have does kind of pop up back there a little more lately than normal. Anyway, so I checked it a lot, and it stayed pretty northwest most of the time. I think right towards the end, it started getting a little more north in it. But it was gusting. I mean, my deer activity actually was way better last night in 72 degrees with a southwest wind. I mean, I had an hour and a half of steady activity, ended up filming Big Mac, came out in relatively good light, 6.5-year-old deer, and then tonight I saw 5 or 6, 7 does out in the alfalfa. 1 3-year-old 8-pointer came into the turnips, and we didn't see a single deer out in the beans. And then the last 10 minutes, actually one of the neighbors shot a muzzle loader, so we'll see if Chubbs is still around. But the gunshot went, a lot of deer sort of came our way from the alfalfa. And then we had another mature buck that I think 6.5, kind of a tight, heavy 9 that I had last year on the farm, come and work the scrape under us, and another 3-year-old and some does, and they were all like right at 20 yards. So that last little bit of light was pretty good. It wasn't quite as good as far as just a good solid hour of activity that I was hoping for. I'm hoping the morning is a little better.
That's crazy. We had, we were closer to what Jason saw. We saw deer from the time we were hanging the stand till dark. They were moving like crazy. Bunch of bucks on their feet, and I was curious to know on the wind, because the wind is what killed us. I mean, we're sitting in a spot where there is no topography or terrain that would make it. It's not a swirling spot. It's a very consistent wind spot. and the wind was just switching directions on us. You know, it's supposed to be northwest, and we were just getting just straight south winds. I mean, from about 5:30, 5:45 on was terrible. I mean, we ended up actually getting down early. We were so tired of it blowing the wrong way, and it wasn't. I mean, it was, you'd get a big gust to northwest, and then you'd get like 2 or 3 minutes straight of nothing but straight south winds. So it was weird. I had never seen it in that spot swirl before, so I think it just had to be the weather on the back end of this front rolling through or something. I was just curious to see, you know, on our side of the state if you guys were seeing it as well. But it killed us. We saw a lot of deer. We did see a mature buck. It was some big bodied mature 8 that my cameraman Ethan was actually thinking about shooting. That's the one that we've talked about, Mike. He was 200 yards away, walking straight away from us, and got to break out the grunt call for the first time this year, and ground at him. He spun around on a dime and just he was standing in the middle of a path and just started scraping, tearing up grass. And I thought he was going to march right in, but he kind of started coming, and a doe got in between us and kind of just distracted him enough that he forgot about us, I guess. But he went and like tore up some willow trees, and he was fired up. So it was good to see that for the first time this year. But we saw a lot of deer. We saw 20 plus deer, I'd say, throughout the night. And just as far as right where we were hunting, we were getting killed by the wind.
Yeah. How'd you do, Owen?
Oh, I'm about like you guys, about like Jared and Jason. I think when I got out there in the open, I said that it felt like it was a kill night, you know, like Jason said, you could just feel that chill in the air. It was really the first cold weather, you know, that we've had, or at least chilly, not cold by late season standards, but it felt really good. And then the night kind of progressed that way, like what Jared had seen too. We were seeing deer all night, and we were by standing corn, so there was a lot of chasing going on in the corn and stuff. You could hear them crashing through the corn. And there, about maybe an hour before dark, there was a nice mature buck working his way up in the CRP, and I snort wheezed at him, and he came right down 10 yards from the tree. So it was a good encounter. It was an excellent hunt.
That sounds awesome.
Buck, you know?
Yeah, in hindsight, I think I do know him. I had to do some thinking on him though, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
How about you, Zach? You're going after numero uno tonight, right?
Yeah, we went in after Prodigy 2.0 tonight, P2. Had him on camera yesterday, and actually went in, specifically walked through about 1.5 miles, 2 miles of corn yesterday, specifically to hang up a camera that Caleb and I had kind of talked about, a scrape that's on that farm. The thing that's really difficult about that farm right now is that it's still got all the corn in, and really all it is a single draw is all it is. That's 3.5 acres of timber that, for whatever reason, this really big deer is, you know, seems to be coring up, you know, at least bedding there on a pretty regular basis. But it's so hard to access with the corn being the way it is right now, because that farmer literally plants all the way up until like the fence, you know, type of thing. So like, it's not like you could drive a side by side part way or anything like that. So we went in there tonight, and I think it's a semi-aggressive, but it's also a calculated move where like I'm getting daylight photos of that deer right now. So I feel like I should be hunting him, but it's also like, I know my odds are really low because like where we set up tonight, like the farthest I could see from like a shooting lane is like 25 yards. Cause I'm like set up on standing corn in front of me. So I'm really essentially just saying, hey, hopefully he walks 10 yards right in front of me, you know, type of thing, because he could have been out in that corn tonight, but it makes for a really long hunt when you only see 2 deer the entire night. But I remember, you know, when Max and Grant were talking the other day where you kind of sit down and you're kind of on the edge of your seat the whole time. I definitely had that feeling tonight for a while. But I think it was more just like general excitement of hunting that deer, because I really thought that my odds at, you know, probably, you know, having him in the bed of the truck, like we were talking earlier, was probably pretty low, you know, just because it's not like I could call to him or anything like that from that location because I couldn't see. But I feel like I should be dedicating time over there when he's showing up on camera. But that doesn't say that there wasn't some eventful stuff tonight, because I had a new cameraman with me tonight, and unfortunately, we had a camera that went out of the tree tonight, and
Oh, no.
Oh no!
Oh,
it was kind of. I
Is he
was
still the
facing one-
cameraman?
Yeah, we'll see. You know, and I told him specifically, Jared, too. I told him, don't get a hold of Jared, you know, before tonight's podcast type of thing, because I want that like raw reaction, what these guys are going to think about this whole deal. So I don't know like what 41 North does for like reimbursement on this stuff. Like if you just give me like I don't know if you just have like a credit card number or something like that.
I have a text message that says, "Are you done with the podcast?"
I don't know. I mean, I've had similar stuff like that happen to me. I remember tracking a deer one time and I had it on a tripod, put it on my shoulder, and it just fell right off the tripod. But like where we were set up tonight, it was one of those trees where, especially when you hunt with like new people too, like I feel like we were standing at the base of it and I looked up at it and I was like, yeah, I can hang and hunt in this. And I could tell like he was like, we're going to hunt in here, you know, type of thing, like how we're going to get in this one, you know, type of thing. So it took a little bit creative approach, you know, to get in that tree tonight. And we were pretty tight quarters up top. And when we were up there, there were a couple spots where he was going to have to take it off the actual camera arm in order to film. And we had kind of had that talk about, hey, if you put it on that camera arm, make sure you tighten that screw down type of thing, because it will fall off, you know, on that base plate. And I was kind of facing one direction and I heard this crash like behind me. And like, I can't explain it, but like, I just instantly knew. I was like, that was my camera that hit the ground. Like, I knew it, like type of thing. I could just like feel it in my gut. And I just didn't even want to turn around. And he felt like terrible too. And like, I mean, every part of me was like just trying to keep it together, you know, type of thing, where like I was trying really hard to keep it as PG-13 as I could, you know, type of deal. But in my head, I was
He's the nicest kid.
and right away, you know, you could just see that he just felt terrible about it. You know, I'll make it right for you, Zach. You know, I'll do whatever I need to. So I'm thinking like a payment plan or something like that, or like but overall, just slow hunt. You know, I went down to my farm this morning and I saw, you know, 10 deer, 10 turkeys, you know, decent movement, you know, no rut, you know, no pre-rut activity, but pretty good hunt for a morning hunt this morning. So
Do you guys think that, I guess for those of us that had a super busy night, do you think that it was really a product of the weather? I feel like it's way too early for them to be doing what they're doing, but because I feel like they've sort of been held down to an extent, I don't know if that's a good way of describing it, but they've been subdued to an extent, and this was one of the first nights where they probably felt like really getting up on their feet and getting the party started. So I felt like it was more weather related than anything.
Go ahead, Owen.
I was going to say, yeah, I would totally agree with that. It seemed like, yeah, this is the first real cool front or cold front we've had that's really good. It just feels like killing days, you know. So I think same thing, Jason. I feel like it's weather related. Of course, the bucks are always ready to go. They're primed all the time. You know, just got to get out there and start feeling frisky. So,
right.
Yeah, I agree. I saw basically exactly what I expected for the first time this entire season. I saw exactly what I expected out of, you know, for the day of the calendar and the cold front, like just good movement. The bucks were just like nudging those just a little bit, but no aggressive chasing or anything. A lot of scraping, you know, working scrapes aggressively. Just what do you expect for October 21st on a cold front? I finally saw what I expected to see on the hunt this year.
So it was
Max success. And Grant. Last time you guys stayed quiet the whole time. We had good news. Yeah. What do you got? What do you got tonight?
Not that occasion.
No, not at all.
We took a shot. We've been waiting on since the day after that encounter that we had last week. We have just been waiting to get back in there. We were able to get back out the night after that sweet encounter that was on the main show last week. We got back out that next night, and that's what I think we had a podcast after that where we were sitting, couldn't see much. We went back to the same tree tonight, hoping for the same thing, that he would do what he did. I think it'd be like a week ago today, but didn't see. We saw 3 deer in that big alfalfa field walking in that were there at 3:15 already feeding, and then 1 spike from the tree, and it was slow. We pulled a camera that we left out for a week on that path that we thought that deer was taking, and he wasn't on there this whole past week. So we kind of took the wind out of our sails as far as that deer goes. So it was a slow sit, not near as pins and needles for some reason as last week. It felt really good, but when we walked, we were so torn when we walked by that alfalfa field. That's a field that we saw 30 plus in last week on the exact day like we had today, the first cold day. It was a little breezy, but the first cold day, it like broke both of our hearts to walk by that field knowing that we could sit and see a pile. We know we were going to a spot where we were going to see one or none, but I think we just had to do it just for the odd chance that he bedded in the same place and took that trail, but it was terribly slow.
Yeah.
We did get some really good news though. That permission farm that I killed on last year, which actually tomorrow would be the day last year, the 22nd. Today they cut the corn. So for 3 years since we've had this permission farm, this like 100, it's probably like 80 acres of standing corn. We had 2 bean years and then a corn year this year finally. And since we got this place, we've been talking, man, the day we get to hunt this cut corn on this place is going to be like, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm so ready. I've been waiting 3 years for tomorrow. We got a perfect wind. We had a daylight shooter this afternoon. So we're like, tomorrow is, I mean, heck, I'd get in the tree at 10 a.m. I don't care. I'm ready for tomorrow already.
Similar wind, right? Northwest wind.
Yeah, it should be a little. We had a lot like a couple of years. We had some wild winds. It was pretty steady, but that
Looks like it's gonna be a lot calmer tomorrow too.
The
A
wind
lot calmer winds. Yeah.
all night. So we're excited for that. Conditions are really good too. I'm seeing like mid 50s again, which should be awesome.
So are you the majority of you going out tomorrow morning?
I really want to.
I don't know if I will.
I'm not, but I think we probably should be. I bet it'll be good movement.
Right.
Yeah,
I can't.
I took the day off tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday. So I've got a 5-day stint here. This is kind of starting my favorite little time to be out there. And so, yeah, I'm going to be out in the morning and it's about, I'm hoping it's, better than it was tonight. I did have a new deer, not a new deer, but one of my deer I've been waiting to show back up on that farm, show back up tonight. So it's down on the creek where I've been getting chubs. When I got home, I got, pictures delivered around 8 o'clock or whatever. And the 6x5, who is 6.5 years old tonight, was there at 6 p.m. working the scrape, just tearing it up. So he's been hiding somewhere. He popped back up. Similar to last year. I mean, that camera's a little far away from the scrape, but it's 100%. I mean, just heavy, got faces. I can't 100% tell. His nose is up in the air, and it's kind of a side shot, but it's definitely him. So it's cool to see him. He's another super mature deer. I was pretty surprised with how nice his sheds were from last year. If we picked him up, he's got great mass and just lots of points. Nothing real long, but just a cool deer. So nice to see him back up and on his feet. And that was just a few hundred yards away from where we were tonight. So I'm going to go back in the morning. I think it's northwest, just 3 miles per hour. I think with the sun coming up and the thermals rising, I'm going to do morning at Cherry Tree and see. It'll probably be better in a week in the morning. I mean, it's just such a good natural pinch, but I've got some midday work to do. I think we'll pop up and do a short hunt and see what we can see right there. I've been getting some daylight activity on the cameras yesterday and today, working scrapes and stuff. So we shall see.
Yeah, the 2 week looks really good too. If you've looked at the weather out a couple of weeks, it looks fantastic. So, these mature bucks, they should be cored up right now. It's an excellent opportunity to go in with your trail camera data and really go hunt these core areas before, 3 weeks from now, they might be a mile away or whatever during the heart of the rut, So right now is a really good time to key in on them.
That's one thing I was thinking about what I said about, relying on those cell cameras, that I don't rely on them to tell me where to hunt a deer necessarily. I guess maybe in some cases you do, but you do that after you maybe, cumulatively decided it's probably a good place to go. I mean, I think they're the greatest tool or the greatest use of those things is just getting a feel for what they're doing. Like Owen just mentioned, the scraping, and whether they're out in daylight. And that's a pretty good indication that that something's going on that you should be paying attention to. I think they're a great tool, but sometimes people rely on them just a little bit too much, and I've been guilty of that myself.
Yeah, this is also a really good time, like, calling, just a little like calling. I'm rattling that are a little grunting or snortweed or something like that. I remember way back to what do we call that deer? On my cabin farm, Jared. That was like October 23rd. Brutus. Remember that deer?
Brutus. Yeah.
In the alfalfa, like little snortweed. He just freaking turns on a dime and comes to the base of the tree, basically. Those mature bucks are so, dialed up right now that I'm hoping that I can spot, chubs just kind of crossing the alfalfa and do a little call to them and get them to come, right in. That's how we'll draw it up anyway.
Yeah, it was fun to break out the grunt call tonight, and I told my cameraman in the tree tonight that I need to start bringing my ride-on antlers because I wasn't even sure if this deer would be able to hear me from 200 yards away upwind, and he did. But I need to start packing those things from here on out, probably.
I said the same thing.
Do all of you rattle?
Yeah, I definitely do. I love to rattle. Like right now, I'm just carrying a rattle bag. So if you have something, if you really need it, like in Jared's case, but like you said, I'm gonna start carrying the horns here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Grant and I were thinking about taking the decoy tomorrow. I'm not sure. That one that was daylight, just a tank of deer, and he seems to be one of those bully type deer. And I think where we're gonna have to sit is gonna be a little out of the game for a bow shot. So we're thinking about it. I don't know if it's too early or not. I'm dying to hunt over decoy. I've never done it.
I don't think it's too early. It just for me, using a decoy always comes down to like the specific spot and how many does I think I'm gonna have to encounter, at least close. That's usually what dictates whether or not I'll take it. But I think the timing, I think the timing is fine. I think you'd be fine using one.
I don't think we'll have a deer inside of like 100. That's what we were talking about with the does, but I don't think they're going to be much inside of 100. But I have such a good feeling that we're going to put eyes on one of our kind of mature deer, and I just want something. We'd be in the wide open if I was calling. I mean, there's a fence row, but I don't know.
Are you thinking
also how far you got to carry your decoy too?
Yeah.
What'd you say, Owen?
Are you going buck decoy or are you thinking doe?
Buck decoy.
Yeah. That helps a little bit with the does. They tend to shy away from them a little more, The doe decoys, they tend to just pester them. They won't leave them alone. It's real pain.
I'm hoping we get to see some just mangle that thing. That would be
awesome.
I've seen it one time and it just it makes me want to hunt over a decoy every time. The 1 out of 100 time it works, but man.
I vote for you to bring it.
Yeah, I got one. You want it?
I got one, man. I'm ready to go.
All right. You want 2?
Smart out there.
Set up some sparring bucks in front of you. Yeah.
There you go.
We might have to do another podcast tomorrow if we. Because we got a good storyline set up. Don't let
I
us
was
down,
gonna
boys.
I was gonna ask too, guys, for the ones that are seeing, a lot of like pre-rut activity. It sounds like Jason, especially, you saw a lot of bucks specifically, but was it mainly like bucks kind of posturing each other, sparring a little bit, chasing them around or like checking does too? And it sounded like Jared, that you had a few bucks that were kind of nudging around does a little bit.
I gotta say, I don't think I saw a doe the entire evening. I don't know what they were doing. Like I said, it was like, it was literally like Talladega. I mean, it was just, I don't know what they were doing. Stretching their legs, maybe getting ready for the rut. Like maybe they were
Yeah,
training. I'm not sure.
it's all about cardio. Cardio. Yeah.
Right. Getting their steps in for the day. Because they were definitely, I mean, we had rain here throughout the entire day. Like I was out photographing a property this morning, and the whole time I was walking the property, it was raining, so I had to keep my camera under my jacket, and I just kept thinking, "Please be done by 3 o'clock," and it was. I mean, we were blessed with a beautiful evening.
What about you, Jared?
It seemed like most of the bucks were more focused on just making the rounds, getting scrape to scrape, and if there was a doe within their vicinity, we had probably 6 or 7, maybe a few more than that, does and fawns out in front of us, and had a good solid 3-year-old, maybe a 4-year-old come out, and he made a little charge at the herd of does, but basically was just on his way to work a scrape, and then he moved across the corner or across the field to hit another scrape. And it was kind of following in the general direction of the does, but he wasn't focused on getting a scent checking them or anything like that. It was just if a doe was in the vicinity of a buck, he paid attention to her a little bit, but for the most part, they all kind of seemed to just be on a mission to go pretty much work scrapes, it seemed like.
Yeah, just that high testosterone level where they're just like showing off a little bit, type of thing, and just doing that quick check and moving along. So that's good to see, though.
It was really good to see.
In retrospect, I was sitting in timber and in some pretty thick timber, so a lot of the movement that we saw was early. So I don't know what it was like out on the fields. I haven't had it. I know I've got a load of emails here to look through at trail camera pictures, but I don't know what it was like out in the fields.
I was a little further out, and like I said, the deer were out in the open, middle of the farm at 4:30.
Yeah,
they had started their night early for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. Interesting. So, do you? And I'd love to get actually all of your opinions, or whoever wants to speak up. Do you think? Again, tonight was just a product of the weather in terms of the racetrack that I saw, or do you think it was something else?
I definitely think it was the weather, but the nice thing is we've got the same weather for almost 2 straight weeks, so should be some good hunting. I don't think today is going to be the only day that was good.
Well,
I'll be anxious to hear what everyone that's going out in the morning, just when we start seeing some of especially the mature bucks, stay on their feet a little bit longer. Because I personally haven't seen that, obviously hunting, but I haven't even seen it on trail camera yet either. So I'll be anxious to see we're close to that flipping the switch time, but I'm anxious to hear how you guys' morning hunts start going these next few days.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of pictures between 7:15 and 8:15 in the morning, particularly on scrapes.
Mature deer.
Yeah. Yep. But I just haven't been able to go, and I'm like tomorrow morning I've got to go way up north again, to look at a property, so I'm not going to be able to get out till tomorrow night. But which will be fine. Like Owen said, there's a lot of good days coming up.
And I don't think the Mike Cuddy links have really been showing either, that like I'm having mature buck activity in the mornings, but I've been getting a ton of does out of my food plots, at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. So especially with the conditions being as good as what they are, I'm more or less afraid that if I don't hunt tomorrow with as good as the conditions are going to be, that like, that's when it's finally going to be like that linchpin where you like look at it and you're like, okay, finally you had a mature buck daylight, type of thing, because there's finally those little bit cooler temperatures, really good conditions, which tomorrow is going to be a perfect morning, a little bit, calmer. You're going to be like able to actually hear stuff coming through there, today. Cause that was one thing sitting in front of the corn too, is that we were literally just visibly, that was our only sense we really had, because it was just so much noise sitting along that corn where we couldn't hear anything either. Where I think that tomorrow, I would imagine a lot of our cameras are going to start showing that, at least activity in general is picking up, whether or not it's mature buck activity in the mornings at least.
Yeah.
Sounds like we'll have to have a podcast in the next couple days. Figure out whether we know what we're talking about or not. Mike, it'll be interesting to hear how your plan works out tomorrow morning, and for everybody that's going out, good luck. I'll be now that my boss tagged out tonight, I suspect I'll be working more often than I normally would during the rut. I'm like, what were you thinking, scheduling an appointment 3 hours away on November 22nd? Come on.
Get some age on those deer for next year.
There you go. Exactly. Anybody got anything else?
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, good luck and be safe and enjoy it, because it's going to be over before we know it again.
That's right.
Anything coming up? Midwest Whitetails, we just dropped a show today, correct? Or was it yesterday?
Monday.
And so anything coming up for the rest of the week?
We, deer are starting to fall for sure. It's just that time of year. It's going to be the time where we start picking and choosing which ones we're going to feature. Right now, I know we have one potential kill out of Missouri. I think we talked about it on one of the previous podcasts, but a pretty cool little storyline we might include in there. And hopefully in these next 3 days, we'll have another one out of this group right here.
Yeah.
We're certainly getting close.
Yeah, I was surprised somebody killed tonight. That's what I said on my close. I said, I bet somebody killed tonight. So it's kind of surprising no one did, but
I was too.
There.
Yeah. All right. Well, good luck tomorrow, guys.
Yep, good luck.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Good luck.